Mon amours, bonsoir. How is everybody? We're here for our weekly romance oracle message. Let's see, last week was Rosh Hashanah, so we skipped a week. This week, Yom Kippur starts tomorrow night and the next night. So I switched my days off up and we got our romance reading in. I will probably be making our video tomorrow night because Yom Kippur is much easier than Rosh Hashanah. There is like all the meals and everything to prepare beforehand with Rosh Hashanah. There's the afternoon ritual sacrifice. There is the nullification of the vows. There's just so much happening. So I feel like it'll be a lot easier for the fast because you don't have to really prepare. In fact, you restrict from doing anything. You don't have to bathe. You're not supposed to bathe. You have to restrict yourself from, and if anybody wants to fast for Yom Kippur and join in, you have to abstain from these 5 things because you want to abstain from the ego's desire to give in to the desires of the flesh, right? You want to suppress the fleshly pleasures because what you want to do is you want to build affinity with the light so that you can draw in that light of your upgraded, turbocharged soul as you're drawing your soul down, and it's like your vessel is perfected because you have purposefully restricted your desire to receive for the self alone by abstaining from food and drink. So no food, no water, nothing to drink. If you are a smoker, I would probably say don't smoke. You know, that kind of falls into the category of like ingesting things. You will not bathe or brush your teeth. There is no wearing of oils or perfumes. So that would fall into like categories of like makeup, hair products, lotions, perfumes, anything that, you know, dresses the body up and you take pleasure in the senses, right? The smells, the feeling. You abstain from wearing leather. And you will abstain from having sex. So I know wearing leather will be hard to abstain from for some of you. Just kidding. So that will start Friday night at sundown. And that fast will endure until Sunday or Saturday night at sundown, but actually like 1 hour after that. It's a 25-hour fast. After sundown, there's usually like a continuation of another round of psalms and prayers and everything. So all in all, it's 25 hours. And yeah, so that will be what I am doing. And I think that I'll probably be able to do our video after the rituals are over tomorrow night. All right, so let's get into the reading for this week. This is what we need to know or focus on or embrace to give our love lives the best chance for success this week. A lot of times it's doing inner work on the self. Sometimes it's putting ourselves out there. This week, I feel like we're going to be doing the inner work. Retreating away from the noise of the world, retreating away from someone and fleeing if you need to. Retreat, pull back the troops. Abort mission. It's time to disconnect from the world. And that's pretty much what I'll be doing. I'll be fasting. I'll be feasting on words and Torah. And I will be fasting from the pleasures of the body. All right. Also, okay, so another thing to note is literally tomorrow, Pluto Stations direct. It ends its 16-year cycle of being retrograde in Capricorn, which has been, you know how like, I don't know, since like 2008, it seems like the world has just been one big flaming shitstorm. And it's just gotten like progressively worse. a shitstorm that has like revealed all of the dark underbellies of polite society and collective governances, corruption in the government, corruption in the banking systems, sexual abuse, sexism, misogyny, prejudice, all of these themes that have been coming up where we've marched and we've revolted and we've stood up against injustice and darkness. That was the influence of Pluto retrograde in Capricorn, pulling all of that up to the surface so that it could be dealt with. It went through the discipline and the cleansing that it needed to. And it's not like we're finished and we got the job fully done. But I think that the worst is behind us, the big exposure, right? The big tribulation that brought on the revelation. So I think that the world's consciousness has shifted just enough, in enough numbers, that this can be the growing trend in this generation and generations to come. So I think that we hit a tipping point, which is very exciting. Now, when you go into that's the macro, but when you go into a micro level, micro, like how did that affect you over the past 16 years? What were the shitstorms in your life that brought up things about yourself that weren't secure, right? Or that needed growth, or that needed strengthening, or that needed a turnaround or correction? Right? What were the themes of the challenges that taught you and shaped you over the last 16 years? That hand of discipline, that stern fatherly sort of discipline and guidance from the universe. It's like we're finally graduating and moving out of the house now. And like we don't have to like be under the constant like thumb of our strict father, so to speak, the cosmic father. So things will be lightening up, and it's like we can now, it is sort of like when you move out of the house and you become an adult, and then you can start, when you go back home, it's like, well, I've been out drinking, in my adult life, so I can have some drinks with my parents. We can talk more casually about my relationships and my personal life because we're all adults now here. That's kind of the feeling that I'm getting. It's like we're moving into that different phase. So the universe, the cosmos, they don't have to be so controlling. When a child gets their bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah, it means that they are taking on the next level of their soul. And that means that they are taking on the responsibility of their own tikkun. Tikkun is the process we go through in this life where we go through these soul contracts and we do the soul correction and we heal our shadow and overcome like the things that challenge us and where our weaknesses are and our where our personality flaws are. It's like that's the tikkun, right? When we have tumultuous relationships with people and then things like that, that's tikkun that needs to be healed and corrected. So I started talking in circles and I got lost in the mysteries. So we're talking about tikkun healing, the ending that period, that cycle. Oh yes, when kids get bat mitzvahed. And so that means we're kind of at that point again, like in life where in a way it's very similar. It's like we're getting a bat mitzvah where we're getting another layer of our soul, but we're, more responsible for our own actions. We have more sovereignty. We have more self-control. We have more self-mastery. We might be able to manifest things quicker, but we're going to be held responsible a lot quicker too. We're under what's called direct supervision of the Creator. When you are a spiritual seeker and you are awakened, your negative actions have more impact on the cosmic scales than a person who is not an elevated soul. So just keep that in mind. We might have graduated to a level that includes a soulmate relationship coming up in this next cycle. I know that we've been having the promise of this for the last couple of years, guys. It's not lost on me. In fact, before we even started the reading, I was like, oh, I can't wait for soulmate relationship to come up again. as it does like twice a week from our manifestation readings and our romance oracle readings. And yet again, I have not met my soulmate. I don't know how many of you have, but I always take this as an encouragement that there is a person out there for us. And before we can meet that person and have a real chance at success, each person has hopefully done enough of that tikkun work that they're emotionally and spiritually prepared to handle and sustain a higher level relationship with a person who's their equal, who's equally yoked, who's also done the work on the inside of themselves and has prepared, for a relationship that can be more than just, the lower level relationships. These two individuals share the same beliefs, and they believe in each other's vision and purpose, and they are complete on their own. And so when they've come together, it's like they enhance each other's life so much that their love overflows in positivity and affects like their family and their friends and their community and their tribe and all of that positively. It's like there's an overflow of positivity that comes out of their relationship, and there's a purpose for the two together. It's like they're more as a couple than they were individually. So that's the highest level of relationship. The first level is called first mates. It's practice mates. No, first mates are like just casual dates, right? They're not going anywhere. There's no expectation. It's just like fun, frivolous, good times. Practice mates are like when you first start getting boyfriends and girlfriends, or you have like maybe you're well on into your adulthood and you've had many boyfriends and girlfriends, but this is someone that like you're seeing, that you see casually, but like you don't have real intention for. It's like you might be seeing them for longer, or you might take them more seriously than say a first mate who's just in and out, but you don't have real intention to like have a mature relationship here. So first mate, practice mate, you're just learning the basics of relationship ins and outs. Now the next level is tikkun mate. And these are the people, so the practice mates can turn into boyfriends and girlfriends, but like I said, you don't have like long-term intentions. You may not end up living with these people or having like those several year relationships. Now, a tikkun mate, though, is a relationship that goes deep enough to get into your like triggers and your core root issues, and you work on those things in that relationship together. Hopefully, either that or you bounce off of one another like bullets ricocheting and like rough edges of shrapnel everywhere, right? You're at war with one another. So you're either warring until you figure out how to start working on things and like improving things and like learning the deeper levels of relationship and how to communicate and how to, understand like how to have intimacy and how to understand what your needs are and how to be curious and understand your partner's needs. Like that kind of stuff is like worked out in the tikkun relationships. Now, the soulmate relationship is the highest level relationship, and that's the one we talked about a moment ago. That's when you have like you're kind of spiritually awakened and you've both gone through a certain level of healing and you're ready for something deeper and more meaningful that can hopefully sustain for the long run. And then just in life in general, we have many soulmates that come in and fulfill these soul contracts, and we play these parts out for one another, and that, basically takes us through correction and lessons and cycles until, we have reached a next level of consciousness that would constitute having a higher level of relationship come in. And so sometimes these people can be in our lives for a while. Sometimes it's very brief, but it's always very poignant. And sometimes they're romantic, sometimes they're not, sometimes they're platonic, sometimes they're friends, family members, sometimes they're acquaintances that aren't around for very long. They can be a variety of, show up in a variety of forms. Okay, what else for this week in our love lives? Okay, oh my gosh, we have reconciliation and give your relationship a chance. So there may be people coming back together. eclipse season is very tumultuous. And so there can be a lot of chaos during eclipse season. And so it can be a time of like separation in some relationships. And so maybe, you know, this is a sign that it's possible that it could be worth trying to reconcile. Maybe your relationship can be healed. Maybe it's worth working on. So reconciliation, someone from your past is returning to your life. For some people, that might mean that someone from their distant past is returning. And maybe it's somebody that you just fell out with, or maybe it's like an ex or somebody that's coming back around. I'm always wary about getting back together with people because I feel like it didn't work out for a reason. Like anytime I've ever tried to get back together with people, it's just only like delaying the inevitable, but that's not always true for everyone. Sometimes you can be impulsive and make decisions rashly. Maybe, you know, and in some cases, I feel like you're just not in the right season of life. And every once in a while, life might bring two people back around. However, I think that's the exception and definitely not the rule. I think it's always a bad idea to hope someone comes back around because I think that it prevents you from being in the present. And I think it holds you back. So reconciliation, someone from your past is returning to your life. And work on your partnership. Give your relationship a chance. So you may be working on partnership and giving a relationship a chance. For those of us who aren't necessarily in a relationship, I like to think of this as giving your future relationship a chance. Don't settle for something that's not quite right. Don't settle for less than what you deserve. Don't give up on your vision for love. Don't give up on believing that you do have a soulmate, that there is someone for you. You know, we are going into a new cycle. We are closing out a really big old one. And so right now could be a moment of pause in between, like maybe someone new coming in soon. So taking a moment to retreat and regather your wherewithal and reconsider, okay, I've grown a lot. So what do I value in a partner? What am I really looking for? What can I not do without in a partner? Like, what are my non-negotiables? I have to have someone with a sense of humor. Like I thought, you know, I second guessed myself before and was like, you know what, maybe I'm just being immature. Maybe this isn't as important. Like maybe I'm underselling other great qualities and, you know, I can live without someone with a sense of humor. There are no qualities good enough in the world for me to spend time with someone with no sense of humor who's not funny, and especially as like someone who doesn't pick on my humor, forget it. And if they're also not funny, I'm like, I don't know what you're gonna do for me. Like it's just so vital. And I thought maybe that was something like shallow or superficial, or me being judgmental or selling someone short before giving them a real chance. But no, that's knowing myself. Humor is very important to me. You will have things that are very important to you. I also need someone with faith who's a believer. Like, there are religious people who are into the theological ideas, but those same people, like, they don't always have faith. They're not always believers. They don't always live in a way that is like driven by faith and divine inspiration. You know, on this channel, we're comfortable talking about the ability to have faith beyond reason and your intuition, trusting that sometimes it doesn't make logical sense. And so those of us who are practiced at trusting that voice, even when it doesn't make logical sense, we've seen the payoff of following that voice. And so we trust it. But other people aren't necessarily like that, right? So I can't like go without someone who's willing to like act in faith and, you know, notice signs and synchronicities and take those into account, or like, you know, dreams and things like that. Like, I need someone who's willing to like make those decisions and take a leap of faith with me in life. You know, I've been in relationships with people who didn't have matching beliefs like that. And that was always like a point of contention, even though we didn't have kids and it didn't matter, like in the long run, like how are we gonna raise these kids? It was just like us. But that difference of belief, it spills out into the way that you approach your life. So I think that giving your relationship a chance is definitely like taking time to get like tune in with yourself and get really honest. What do I absolutely have to have in my relationship? What do I really need from a partner? What is negotiable? What are more preferences, but what are my non-negotiables and what are my deal breakers? What will I not tolerate? What do I have zero tolerance with? You know, instant expulsion, right? Like, what are things that like definitely will not fly? And then know what those are too. But knowing those will help you give yourself a chance to give your ideal, you know, vision of love, vision of life a chance, right? But if you are in a relationship that's had some rough patches, just know that like every relationship will have rough patches. It's inevitable. Every relationship will bring you to a point where you're sick of this person. But people generally tend to say, okay, is it 80-20? Like, it needs to be 80% good and 20% challenge. Something like that. If it's way off of those numbers, then this is a different situation that you're dealing with. Have you come to this partner over and over again for years and years and asked them for certain things that they keep continuing not to deliver, right? Or is this a different situation? You have to discern that for yourself. But I always feel like I have to give these caveats because I'm sitting here, you know, giving you advice. You can't just take what I'm saying and like just do what I say just because I say it. You have to use your intuition also. And hopefully, and I'm sure that you do. But like, you discern, okay, what is this part of my message? Is this part for someone else? Like, is this, you know, relevant for me? But ultimately, what I like to do is read the energy around a situation rather than prescribing and telling people what they should and shouldn't do. I like to give you the vibe and the information that I can so that you can make those choices for yourself and you can tune into your own guidance and, you know, feel either confirmed and affirmed to go in a direction or feel warded off from that direction. All right, let's get some more insight into retreat. Let's see what more we need to know about that. Yeah, and just like this next couple of months as we finish out the year, it's a great time to reflect and just recenter yourself, recharge your batteries, and let this new self start coming forward. So retreat, temperance, finding balance, right? Like learning how to integrate all of this wisdom that we've gained and that we've been reflecting on over the past couple of months as we've been considering the end of this cycle of Pluto in retrograde in Capricorn. And so now it's like we're integrating these aspects of self back in, and we're reincorporating aspects of our shadow now that we've been able to rehabilitate and reform and renew that. And it's going to be an elevated version of what it was so that it can be a functional part of our personality and not something that's dysfunctional or that we feel like we have to hide away. Part of this temperance card as it pertains to like relationships is like everybody adds something to the relationship, and you're bringing two people that were two separates into oneness. They intertwine into making their lives one, and they are one flesh. And so it's like you're integrating the aspects of each other. Well, sometimes that gets difficult, right? And so we have to learn to appreciate our differences as well as our similarities and accept people with their flaws and shortcomings and all, because no one's perfect, right? So it's about like integrating yourself and holding on to your sense of self whilst also incorporating another person in and appreciating your similarities and differences, respecting how they're different, respecting that their needs might be different, respecting that their interests and the things that they enjoy spending their time doing might be different than yours, right? So that's something that as we become more intimate with a partner and we, start living under the same house, it's like we have to accept them for who they are, and like we can't constantly be on them about like, well, why are you spending your time doing this, or why aren't you doing that, or why aren't you doing that? Like that doesn't give you a sense of freedom, doesn't give you a sense of being relaxed, right? How many people start bickering and nagging at their partner, projecting on them and judging what they think they should be or should not be doing with their time, and there's a certain balance to that too, because a good partner, especially a good soulmate partner, will inspire you to elevate yourself and develop yourself and rise to the occasion and contribute and become more and of who you can become. But we can do that in a way that is accepting someone at their core of who they are and how they like to live, right? Realizing that everybody brings their own strengths and talents to a relationship and their own gifts, but they also have their own weaknesses too. So it's about accepting people's weaknesses and really appreciating their strengths. Okay, soulmate, what do we need to know about that? Let's get some more insight there. What about our soulmate? Ooh, that just flipped out into our hands. And wouldn't you know, it's the Lovers card. Soulmate, lovers. Lovers is sometimes about two lovers coming together. So maybe we've got a soulmate relationship coming together. But this will come as a result of making choices from the heart. The Lovers card is about coming to a Y in the road. And you can go this way or that way, but it's about making those heart-centered, heart-led choices, choosing things and building a life and taking action that are in authentic alignment with your soul, with the things that light you up, with the things that fill you with love and joy. Like making a decision from the heart. The example I gave a little while ago about feeling judgmental for thinking that like a sense of humor is just like an absolute must. It's like that is actually what lights me up through the day and through the years and the weeks and the months. And so that is something that like I would have to make a choice from the heart, not from the head. Oh, if I'm making a choice from the head, I'm like looking past that. I'm like, well, it doesn't matter that they don't have a sense of humor because they have all these other like good qualities, right? Good virtues, and I shouldn't be taking those for granted, and I'm just being shallow and all this stuff. And it's like, no, you're justifying and you're rationalizing, but that's not, you can't be in love with someone with your brain. I mean, you can, your thoughts are filled of love with them, but it's like, it's all about how does this person make you feel, right? Like laughter, humor, that repartee, that is something that lights up your heart and soul. That is a choice that you're making based on from the heart, right? So being true to yourself, being true to who you are on a soul level, being true to what you need on a soul level. And this is like making these choices in life too. Like for instance, say maybe you have been yearning to go on a trip overseas, like to Europe, and you've been dying to go to Italy. I know I have, but like, you're like, oh, it's not, prudent for me to spend that money. I should be putting it in savings. I'm never going to get to retire. I'll be 80 years old, like working like a dog. But like, what if making a decision from your head? And sometimes it's make those responsible choices are your soul leading you to set yourself up for later. However, what if that heart-centered decision, like there's something that just wouldn't leave you alone about that trip because you were going to meet your soulmate on that trip, right? Or what if something on that trip opened up like, oh, I started getting really passionate about cooking, and then when I came home, like I met these people who are also interested in these cooking classes, and then that's how I met my partner. Like, you never know how one thing leads to another, but at the end of the day, you want to be living in a life that you love, that fills you with love and fulfillment. Because at the end of the day, you're the person who lives your life, and you're the one that's going to die your death. And you're the one that's going to be on your deathbed with your regrets. So don't regret, we've got this chance and this new timeline to really build a life that is of beauty and is authentic and in alignment with our heart and soul. So we have a chance to make those decisions. Don't settle. Don't squander that chance. Hold out for the soulmate, because they do exist, and they might be stuck in traffic or something, but they're on the way. Okay. Reconciliation. Well, that was immediate. Feeling alone. 5 of Pentacles. So I would say with this card, it's a difficult one, because 5 of Pentacles is feeling left out in the cold, feeling alone, feeling a sense of spiritual poverty. And so I would think very long and hard before you reconcile too quickly back into a situation that you've just been released from, if it is, in fact, intended to be over and complete, because you're afraid of being alone, or because you don't know what's next, or because you feel lonely and you need someone with you, and that's what you're used to. Like, don't let a sense of lack cause you to be reconciling, right? Don't like if you really truly deeply love someone and you don't want your relationship to end, and it doesn't give you a sense of relief to think about ending it at all, then maybe you should reconcile, right? Maybe what's out there isn't all it's cracked up to be. Maybe you just got tempted. However, for some people, that could be the exact opposite. It could be that this has been the culmination and graduation of a relationship. And you may feel tempted to reconcile because you're afraid of being left out in the open, exposed with no partner, because you've been used to having one. It's not so bad. It really isn't. I have found that I do get lonely sometimes, but I would rather be a little bit lonely sometimes and have the freedom of my solitude than feel trapped in a relationship that I can't get out of, that is like making me feel miserable and is not meeting my needs and is making me feel drained of my life force. Like, that suffering is worse to me than being out here kind of like not knowing like what's next. And it wasn't always the case. I used to feel terrified of the thought of this relationship that I was in ending. I didn't know what I would do, and it felt like it was everything. And it wasn't. It wasn't at all. As soon as it was over, I was relieved. I was fine. I dropped like 50 pounds in a matter of a few weeks. It was probably mostly inflammation and stress. And I've been really happy ever since. And basically not much has like really stressed me out that much. Except for like some stuff that had to do with like the house driving me crazy. But it wasn't like someone who was like making my life a living hell that I couldn't do anything about. So consider carefully. Tune into your heart and make that decision from the heart. If you're truly in love with this person and the last thing you ever wanted to do was end the relationship, and you would do anything to make it right, if it could just work out, then maybe give your relationship a chance in reconciliation. But if you're not that person who's 100% all in, and you had that shadow of a doubt, and you felt like you weren't quite in the right thing, and you second guessed yourself, don't let fear cause you to go back. I think that's why a lot of people get back together. I think it's fear. I think it's fear of the unknown. I think that they're used to having the warm, cozy feeling of a person's support around them. So, it's always hard to tell, because if you leave a relationship for the wrong reasons, like if you leave a relationship trying to avoid something or running from something, that issue will be waiting for you in the next relationship. we have to complete the cocoon that we have with each other before that lesson is over. So even if we say leave that person, the next relationship might offer that same problem. It'll be like practically the same. So sometimes, like if you're thinking like, oh, the pasture's greener on the other side, like that may not always be the case. Okay, so we have 8 control. This deck has some different, it's like a tarot deck, but it's labeled different. So sometimes, and some of the numbers are out of order. So I'm going to look this up to make sure I got this right. Control. What is the typical? Oh, strength. Okay, so this is the strength card. The strength card is about mastering that inner beast within. So we're not in reactivity, making choices based from a state of reactiveness. I'm reacting to my emotion. I'm reacting to my FOMO. You know, I'm reacting to, oh no, I don't want to like lose this now. Now I'm going to make an effort. But really, like if you would have just like let it go, it'd be fine. Or I'm going to break up with this person. I'm so just mad at them, but like you get over it later. Like don't take actions while you're emotionally charged and triggered. Tame the beast. Don't make emotionally motivated choices. Tune into your wisdom. Tune into like what you deeply want. Tune into what your values are. Tune into like your, like all the criteria involved, but don't make all your decisions solely based on feelings because that brings chaos and it doesn't bring you what you want in the end. Okay, or not necessarily. So keywords: master, influence, accept, compassion, patience, and confidence. In order to flourish, relationships must be fluid and free rather than overly rigid and controlled by emotional neediness or insecurity. It's important to master your emotions so that they do not rule the relationship. Oh my God. This is like basically a minute ago when we talked about giving someone freedom to be themselves. And we just talked about like not making emotionally rash actions and choices. Okay, so it's important to master your emotions so that they do not rule a relationship. A partnership based solely on emotion is out of balance and out of control. Self-control is the key here. Act from a combination of emotion and intellect, and your relationship will thrive and grow. Be sure that your influence is gentle and loving. This is not the time for domination. This card asks you to accept another's this card asks you to accept another's uniqueness and to not require that person to conform to a mold of your choosing just to make you feel more comfortable. Oh my God, you guys, just exactly what we just talked about. Now, I would say, I would highlight here, what are your attachment styles? Do not make someone conform to your attachment styles. When we realize what our attachment styles are, that's so that we can like transcend those attachment styles, not label ourselves with those and use that as a cop-out to never grow beyond that. Okay, so my legs are asleep. Okay, this card also serves as a reminder to come from compassion and understanding rather than anger or frustration. Now is the time for patience, steadiness, and clear thinking. Apply these qualities to your relationship with others and with yourself. If you're involved with a difficult person or situation, try to look through the other person's eyes and experience what his or her heart and soul feels. Try to see the situation from another perspective. With self-control comes confidence. Allow a situation to unfold and detach yourself from the outcome. Don't try to control it. The end result of self-control and self-confidence is supreme peace. Take some time to examine how control in its many aspects is affecting your relationships. Affirmation: I control my emotions and embrace peace. Traditional tarot card archetype: strength. All right, y'all, that was our last card, and I can feel my evening cough coming on. As I told you guys before, if I have a cold for like a day or two, it doesn't matter how brief and mild the thing is, I will have a cough that will last 2 weeks. And starting in the afternoon and into the evening, it's like almost like clockwork. There's like a couple of different times of the day where I will be just thrown into a coughing fit and like my eyes will start watering and I can't stop, and it won't stop, and at work I have to go like hide somewhere on the property to just like have a coughing fit and let it happen, and then I'm fine and I stabilize. But like in the meantime I have to like literally evacuate the building because everywhere I go there's guests and they're like, what's happening here? Or somebody that I work with is like, are you sick? And I'm like, no, it's just I never recovered. It's like I felt ill and was like in a weakened state, like in the 1800s. All right. That's it, y'all, for tonight. I'll see you tomorrow for our weekend reflection message. Don't forget about Yom Kippur. Honk back. Ciao. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you got something out of it, then please give it a like. Subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications to be notified of when I drop content. Like the videos, comment, share them. Anything that you do helps these messages get out to other people who need them. So you watching a video and taking an action on it actually makes a positive difference in someone else's life.